Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix origin story of the clown prince of crime, ended in a way that will almost certainly have the film buff on your trivia team talking for years to come. I'm gonna talk about everything in this movie's ending, so spoiler warning if you have not seen Joker yet, though not saying the movie hasn't stopped most people from pre-forming an opinion about it. Okay, Joker ended with its violent anti-hero lead, Arthur Fleck, with a kind of mixed victory. After a lifetime of abuse and mental illness, finally gets a shot at his favorite late night show, where on live TV, he confesses to murdering 3 Wall Street bros, he chastises Gotham society, and he shoots, not himself, as various moments throughout the movie foreshadowed that he would, but, twist, he shoots Robert De Niro's Murray Franklin in the head, spraying this live TV set with blood. The mobs of protesting clowns that his murders inspired free him from police custody, and while the riots consume Thomas and Martha Wayne, recreating the classic Bruce Wayne Batman origin down to the snap string of pearls, Arthur dances in victory and uses the blood from his mouth to make his clown makeup smile even wider. But here's where things get weird. Well, I guess they got weird from the opening scene. But we cut from Arthur's victory dance to Arthur cuffed in a mental institution. The psychologist asks him what's so funny, and he just smiles and says, "You wouldn't get it." Then, cut to Arthur stepping down the facility hallway, leaving bloody footprints behind, implying he murdered that psychologist. And then the orderlies chase him around like Scooby-Doo. But how does this ending reframe the entire Joker film as we know it? I'm gonna break down the deeper meaning of this final scene. Here we go. Joker's ending explained. So there are at least 2 ways that you can interpret the final act of Joker. One is a literal interpretation of events. Arthur Fleck, a clown suffering from the mental illness of pathological laughter, he commits murder. He at one point believes his father is Thomas Wayne, but then he learns his mother lied about that and actually adopted him, allowed him to be abused. And once he learns about this, he murders his mom. And during all this, he gets mocked on his favorite late night show, and he gets invited on that show where he murders the host, incites a riot that kills the Waynes, and ends up incarcerated. You can see that as your Joker origin story. But there's also enough evidence throughout this film telling us that we should not necessarily interpret these events literally, because Arthur Fleck is an unreliable narrator. Well, he doesn't exactly narrate to us, but all the movie's events are seen through his eyes. And in some key moments, those depictions are revealed to be Fight Club-style subjective fantasies. The first example happens very early in the movie. Arthur watches Murray Franklin's show, then the camera slyly cuts to the inside of that studio with Arthur in the studio audience. No flourishy transition, no push in on Arthur's eyes, no echoey sound effect signaling the memory. It's just blink and we're there, as if we're cutting from scene to scene. Murray notices Arthur's shrill laugh and he singles him out, he compliments him. Arthur stands in the crowd and talks about his life. The crowd affectionately approves of him. Murray even invites him down to the stage. He hugs him. He says that he wishes he had a son like him. And of course, this is a fantasy. We blink back to Arthur watching Murray on TV. It's meant to give us a peek inside Arthur's mind and what he wants. But I would argue that the version of events with Murray that the movie proposes as reality doesn't seem that plausible either. Murray, by the end of the film, comes off as the exact opposite of this fantasy. He's a cruel bully who plays a video of a clearly ill, struggling comic to mock him on national television. Think about it. No affable late-night host in real life would pull that kind of dick move. Like Jay Leno was kind of a dick behind the scenes. Letterman had some awkward moments, I guess. And Johnny Carson probably had some low blows at roasts. But on their own shows where they're trying to come off as likable and mainstream, none of them would do something like this. It would be career suicide. So I would argue that the asshole that Murray ends up being isn't any more realistic than the version in Arthur's dream scenario. Now, the other evidence of Arthur's unreliability pertains to the character of Sophie, played by Zazie Beetz. Arthur and Sophie meet briefly in the elevator of their building. Shortly after, he follows her to work, but he backs off and she confronts him about this, but he makes her laugh by telling her he has a gun. And from then on, the two form a relationship that makes 0 sense. After killing the bros, he knocks on her door, still in clown makeup, and plants one on her. And she's like, "Yeah, the creepy clown in my building. Let's do this. Baby, stay in your room." They go on dates. She watches his catastrophic stand-up routine and enjoys it. Every comic knows this. You never invite a girl on a date to watch you do stand-up. No woman in her right mind would do that. And she joins him in his mother's hospital room. But the fact that this doesn't make sense is by design, because reality kicks in. Arthur enters her apartment later in the movie. He sits on her couch. She walks in the room and she screams. She says to him, "Your name's Arthur, right? You live in this building?" Clearly, they actually have no relationship. And a Fight Club style callback montage returns to their past moments together to reveal that Arthur was alone for all of those moments. So, along with these obvious inconsistencies, lots of other elements of the story just don't add up. Like, how is Arthur able to get so close to the Wayne family estate, put his fingers in Bruce Wayne's mouth? How is this string bean able to overpower, through a gate, Alfred Pennyworth, a former British military officer, a trained bodyguard badass? How is Arthur able to casually sneak through a heavily policed protest to a secure VIP benefit without anyone calling him out? How does a broke unemployed murder suspect get his hands on a snazzy suit in such short notice? Now, I guess you could chalk all this up to, well, because it's a movie, things need to happen, stop questioning. But with clear evidence of foul play and the logic of this movie, it is fair to question everything. Now, it's also worth noting that in his early session with his psychologist, Deborah Kane, there's a quick flashback to Arthur's pastime in a facility. We quickly see him pounding his head against a wall. In that flashback, he wears white, and there's all white walls. It's actually pretty similar to the facility he's in at the end of the film. Maybe that's the room that he is in the whole movie. And you could also argue that the final psychologist, the one he kills, might have inspired Deborah Kane in his fantasy. Deborah Kane has to stop treating him because the state cut her program, but in reality, that later psychologist couldn't help him because Arthur literally cut her. If this second interpretation is true, it would be more in line with the classic understanding of the Joker character. The Joker's origin is always meant to be left a mystery. He's a force of anarchy without any defined sympathetic backstory to make us feel for him. Like, even in the story most consider closest to a Joker origin, Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, Joker is, like Fleck, a struggling comic, but it famously ends with the Joker implying that his past is actually multiple choice. That was the interpretation Heath Ledger's Joker used in The Dark Knight, with his shifting narratives of his scars. So by ending with Arthur incarcerated, chuckling to himself and telling us we wouldn't get the joke in his head, this places this Joker in that same cryptic boat. This sympathetic narrative we've seen is really just one of many options in this multiple choice question of his life, and it's the option that amuses him in this moment, the one that he doesn't expect people to get. And maybe the part of this story that tickles him the most is, in this fantasy, he gets to create the Batman, rather than the Batman creating the conditions for Joker's existence. Joker gets to destroy Bruce Wayne's life and be the spark that ignites Gotham. That's his ultimate fantasy. So the choice is left to you, the viewer. You can read Joker as a nihilistic revenge tale, or if that feels off to you, it's also okay to just read the movie as a fleeting fantasy that cracks a smile from a broken man. But hey, that's just my explanation. Do you think Arthur's life story was real or all in his imagination? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. And to help us finish building our new home, please consider becoming a patron of New Rockstars Digital Studios. Patrons will get access to exclusive premium breakdowns and a bunch of other cool rewards. You can also get on the list of special shoutouts like these. I love all these guys. Just click on the link in the description below for more details. Thanks for joining me, and to think Arthur Fleck's whole fate could have been avoided if those Wall Street bros didn't sing a Sondheim show tune at a clown on the subway.